And not only that, one of the greatest Expos of all time. Let's welcome Steve Rogers to the program. Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Dave. How are you guys? It sounds like you read the script I sent you very well. That's perfect.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know how you got the check here so fast.
And the legend thing, that was just perfect.
Well, we got to make sure we're going to get you back on the show someday.
Okay.
We were just looking at, I don't know if you saw, but Ichiro Suzuki was just dealt to the Yanks.
Oh, I did not see it. No.
Yeah, and it led to the conversation of players who play their whole careers with the team. And, even though the Expos aren't around anymore, that's got to really mean something to you that at the end of the day, you spent your whole career with one franchise.
Well, it does, because certainly had the wishes of the Expos been fulfilled, I would have been a Texas Ranger the last 5 years of my career. I know I've told this story a bunch of times, but Charlie Fox and the front office really felt like the missing link after the 1980 season was a left-handed power hitter, and they really coveted Al Oliver, and Al had just signed with the Texas Rangers, and so John did a deal with and Charlie did a deal with the Texas Rangers and Eddie Robinson, and when Eddie went to tell Al that he had been traded to the Expos, he goes, well, no. When I signed my contract, Mr. Corbett, the general partner of the Texas Rangers, said that I would not be traded to any team I didn't want to play for, and I don't want to go to Canada. And so he nixed the deal on a handshake, and Eddie Robinson said, well, I don't see anything in the contract. He said, will you call Mr. Corbett? And Mr. Corbett said, nope, shook his hand and told him that. Otherwise, I'd have been a Texas Ranger for the last 5 years. So, I mean, I truly wanted to stay in Expo, and that ended up, we ended up getting Al the year or two later. All things considered, I'm thrilled that it happened that way. But that's baseball, and they felt they needed a left-handed power hitter, and so they were going after one of the premier ones, which was very flattering. That's trading me was what it was going to take. So. Anyway, it's kind of a funny aside, because but for the luck of the draw, I wouldn't be included in that group.
Well, it's hard to picture a Montreal Expos team 81 and 82 without you on it. And I can imagine that the team never would have gotten to where it went without you pitching.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. In other words, to have been then a part of those crazy good years was very special. So I'm thrilled that it happened the way it did. But it's again, I know that when I spoke with Charles Bronfman and John McHale after I was released in '85, and I really felt like they had done me wrong, because just because I couldn't hit the pane of glass, and if I did hit the pane of glass I wouldn't have broken it, didn't mean they had to release me. I mean, just because my skills were so diminished. Now, I felt that I wanted to clear the air with them, and they gave me the opportunity to. Had a great meeting with them, and I think everybody at the end of that 12 years, over 13 seasons, I think everybody felt like it was a very, very positive experience for everybody included, and I was thrilled to be part of those teams in the 80s.
Steve, when I look at the numbers, especially the innings pitched, you don't see numbers like that anymore. I mean, 300 innings in 77, I think you went over 250 half a dozen times. And you've got to wonder, would your career have been longer if they had known how to treat pitchers a little bit better back in the day?
Well, I do know that your number one starter was meant to be an innings eater, and on top of being an innings eater, he better win. So it's certainly, you look at those guys that do that within the system today. Halliday, of course, has had an injury-plagued year, but you look at the guys like Sabathia, you look at those guys that are number ones on major teams, and they're asked to pitch 250 to 265, and that's not that far off of 285 to 290. So, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say? The requirements of a number one really hasn't changed a tremendous amount. But I believe that protecting the pitchers by spreading out their starts, by limiting the number of starts in a year, going deep into a game, I don't think is nearly as injurious as having to try and get back out there and go deep into a game 4 days later. So you know what I'm saying? It's cumulative effect. I was asked to eat innings. I was asked to protect the rest of the young rotation. You know, when we had those great, Gullickson, Sanderson, Palmer, we had some young talent that was just unbelievable, and it was my role, and I relished that role.
What do you think of the way that the Washington Nationals are handling Steven Strasburg, putting the 160-inning cap on him this year?
Well, 160 innings. I mean, he is coming off of Tommy John surgery, and he does throw the ball 100 miles an hour. Neither of those things did I ever do. So, I mean, I believe what you have today, and it's truly the driving force over the last 20 years, is starting pitchers were valuable assets when I played and in the decades before I played. Starting pitchers were a valuable commodity. But today, they have within the industry the revenue to protect that asset. Because if you're going to limit your starters to, low levels of innings pitched, and with Strasburg, because coming off of the surgery, they're limiting him to a 160 in a season. That is just simply, they're going to have to invest in at least 2 or 3 more major league pitchers' salaries to protect him, because somebody's got to eat those innings. So within the industry, you have the revenue and you have the ability to protect your pitchers by putting more pitchers on the major league roster, and that just wasn't necessarily the case back then. And the system wasn't that way. I mean, part of your job was to eat innings, and yes, if there had been more of a pitch count, if you look at, I'm going to get real technical here.
That's okay. That's okay. We
You're
enjoy
the
it.
expert. Yeah.
If you look at my first 4 months, and I pitched 50 innings a month. That's basically what I pitched. And you look at the first 200 innings of my seasons, I think I would venture to guess that I'm very proud of my ERA at 3.17 for my career, but I will guarantee you that it's more like 2.80 in those first 200 innings.
Wow.
And that if you took every year of the first 200 innings and accumulate and put them together, because my August, for I think 9 out of the 11, my August, my arm just basically took a vacation, and I got beaten up pretty good. I think my ERA was in the mid to upper 4s, and I was under 500 in the month of August. And so, when you look at the pitch counts and you look at managing pitchers' innings and their numbers of starts and the spacing between the starts that has become prevalent over the last couple decades, a little bit of that would have gone a long way, I know, to helping me. So
we're in conversation with Montreal Expos great Steve Rogers, Dave Kaufman, and Jay Farrar.
Steve, you were well missed here during the 1981 reunion that we had a few weeks ago. I know that you participated in a charity event in Quebec City with Warren Cromartie. My brother, Anakin Slade, was there as well. I wonder if you had a chance to see his video, a tribute to the Montreal Expos, and if you did, what did you think of it?
Well, as a matter of fact, I saw parts of it, but I've not seen the full thing. I have heard rave reviews of it, so I apologize for not being able to speak intelligently about the video, but everyone was thrilled with it, and I know I caught parts of it. I believe they played it on the big board, but I know they also did a great tribute to Gary, so there was a lot of stuff going on, but I think more than anything, it speaks to the resurgence of grassroots interest in baseball in the province of Quebec, and most definitely in the city of Montreal. So that people are embracing that kind of memorial, going through and showing the past and the history. So anyway, it's exciting.
I'll send you an email. I'll send it to you by email tonight, Steve.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I wanted to ask Steve. Let's go back. I mean, you know what? No, actually, you know what? Let's stick with this the grassroots. I liked where that was going. I know that when you were in with that in Quebec City, you did an appearance with Baseball Quebec, didn't you?
Yes.
And are you going to be involved with Baseball Quebec in some capacity?
Well, I'm not doing anything officially, but I've told everybody that if it's at all possible, I will be more than happy to help in any capacity that I can in the promotion of baseball and the furtherance of the resurgence of baseball in Quebec, and it is somewhat self-serving. I'll be honest with you, and I was honest with them. I said, guys, my baseball link to Montreal and Quebec was broken because the team is gone, and so to rekindle, albeit a little bit of an artificial, because indeed it's not the Expos coming back, but I mean, to be a part of the growth and interest in baseball, I got my hand up and I'm volunteering. So I will do anything in a case by case basis. And I'll let everybody know that. Now, again, I'm saying it right now. I really am excited for baseball in Quebec and Montreal.
It was very nice a few weeks ago, and to have Cromartie's MVP and the wonderful reunion. And of course, you were sorely missed. And I've got to think these are probably a bunch of guys you haven't seen in 30 years.
Yeah, because I work for the Major League Baseball Players Association, the Players Union, I have a chance to see and talk to a lot of guys that, but again, not on a regular basis. And so I would have loved to have been able to see everybody that was up there. I think I've spoken probably. I hadn't spoken to Roland Office. I'm trying to think who else there were a couple of guys I hadn't had any contact with, but the majority of them I had either phone calls or I'd seen somewhere. So I've been very fortunate to kind of be still involved and still get a chance. But yes, I would have loved to have been able to be there, but family commitments had been put in place months before. So if it was another appearance or another charity event or something like that, I would have easily been able to say, that I wasn't going to be able to attend that one, and been up in Montreal. Would have loved that.
And to be fair, you were in the province a week later playing in Quebec City.
Right. So I got there just not the same time.
Cut the guy some slack, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're just finishing up with Steve Rogers, and I want to ask Steve, I know you probably spent some time working closely with Donald Fear when he was with the Players Union. What kind of a negotiator are the owners stacked up against in the National Hockey League right now?
Well, the one thing, seasoned, experienced, he's going to have mastered all of the necessary facts. So negotiator, that it goes without saying. I believe the one thing that the Major League Baseball Players Association has been built on from the very beginning, and it's one of the principal tenets that Don learned from Marvin Miller and passed on to Michael Weiner, is that the strength of your negotiator, the competence of your negotiator, is totally dictated by the education and understanding of the membership of what the issues are, what the proper stance is, and its full understanding through education. And I know that that's exactly what Don and his staff have done. So, I believe it's going to be a hard-fought, fair negotiation, and I certainly wish both sides success, because you certainly don't want to see the industry stop. So I want them to be successful, but I know success in that arena comes with, head-butting, hard negotiations, and I'm quite certain that Don has done everything humanly possible to make sure that all of his members know exactly what the issues are, and there's a consensus built among them, because that's where strength comes at the negotiating table.
Meanwhile, it seems like there is peace in our time as far as baseball labor, right?
Well, it's very hard-fought peace, and yes, there is, and it's I believe from a mutual respect. Both sides respect the strengths of the other side, and so when you get at the negotiating table and there's full respect, what you do is, when you reach an impasse, when you reach a difficulty, instead of just saying, look, if we just sit back and do nothing, they'll break because we don't respect them. The fact is, you say, well, unless the only way we're going to get through or around or over this is to work hard, because we know that's what they're going to do, and nobody, and so that mutual respect makes you work through the difficult times. And that's exactly what has happened over the last two or three negotiations in baseball. And while the results seem easy, because indeed, a work stoppage would say it would have not been successful. But the fact is, it looks very easy because there is an agreement that's reached before a work stoppage. The fact is, it's just very, very hard work. And I know the one thing that I would like to say about the Major League Baseball negotiations is over 280 different current players participated in negotiating sessions during that time. So it was a broad-based effort on the part of players to be there and be at the negotiating table, and that's extremely meaningful.
Steve, I feel like we could talk all night. There's so many Expos memories that I'd love to get to. Will you come back and join us again?
Certainly. Be more than happy to, Dave.
Really appreciate your time.
Well, glad to do it, and hey, keep baseball going up there, okay?
I promise I will, Steve, and it's good to know that you're going to be a part of that.
Well, and I'm really excited about it, and it was great talking with you guys.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much.